raining here. You guys can all take off your masks. We'll let you guys breathe and while we're in this meeting, but I appreciate you guys doing that. If you want, you can keep them on if you do. But, so hey guys, what I haven't been able to get out here as much, and so whatever I do, I wanted to come and talk to you guys. It's getting to be the end of the year now, so we want to start thinking about next year and some forecasting and some goals. So I'm going to kind of challenge everybody to start working on their next year's goal, right? So you'll notice at the top it says habits of successful people, but you know, the first thing that any successful person does is set some goals, right? So I think, you know, you guys all want, you know, I want you guys thinking about next year, both in your personal and in your work life, and start to put together some goals for yourself. You know, whatever that can be. You know, I always try and make sure we talk to the managers. We don't want to set goals for people. We just want to help them set their own goals, right? So, so I'd like to sit down with all of you over the next 45 days, and I'd like to hear from you guys on how you see next year for yourself, what you're focused on, what you want to improve on, maybe some personal goals that you're trying to get to, and then I'd like to share any insight that I can have with being the oldest guy in the room here. Well, I guess Perry's older than me, but I'll say the wisest person in the room. How's that? And I'd love to share some insight and help you guys get to achieve your goals. But so that's kind of the first thing, is set some goals for next year, and then the second thing is really just kind of defining, and you know, maybe this will be a starter for you guys when you do your goal setting for next year, is to kind of maybe define and reflect and think about why, you know, what kind of habits do I have right now, and are those the habits that are going to get me to achieve my goals, right? So so I want to talk about that today. These, you know, we could probably list 25 good habits of successful people. But I wanted to kind of break down about 6 or 7 that I find that the top performer salespeople, not just in this industry, but in any industry, what they're doing and some things that they're focusing on, so that they can, you know, achieve their goals, and somewhat in their personal lives too, right? So I'd like to discuss it real quick and get you guys to kind of walk through with some of them with me, and how you guys see it applying to your day-to-day work thing, okay? All right, so the first one I wanted to talk about is just having a daily plan. And this, you know, this is a big one, and I can honestly share that early on in my career, I didn't have a daily plan. I just came to work, and hopefully I, you know, did great. You know, because I've, you know, like a lot of you guys, I thought I had good skills, right? I had good salesman skills, I had sharp skills. And what I realized once I started to plan and once I started to prepare and making sure that I had things in place on a daily basis, it just became that much easier to kind of hit my goals. So I'd like to talk about daily plan and what, you know, I know we have the day timers, but I wanted to really go a little bit deeper on what you guys think a successful salesperson's daily plan should be. So Dominic, let's start off with you. What are some things that you think we should jot down on this?
I think the mental state is key.
Yeah. So making sure your mind is right.
Yeah.
Now it's a funny thing. I recently listened to. That's a really good one. You started off with that one. I really listened to what monks do. And how they start their day off. I don't know if any of you have ever done any reading or watched any YouTube on how a monk starts their day off. But it was a little bit of a wake-up call for me, because a lot of times, you know, we start our day off by going to our phone and looking at the news, or looking at, you know, what's on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and we all get caught in those habits. And you know what the monks say to do for your mind is setting your day off right, is the first thing you're supposed to do is completely relax and reflect, and just kind of meditate a little bit, and start thinking about you know, what you're trying to accomplish for the day, and whatnot, right? So I know myself, it's very easy to just, you know, you wake up and within the first 2 minutes you grab your phone, maybe you go to the washroom and that's how you start your day. But when you really think about your mind is, and you know, a lot of us have habits that we started, you know, like, quick question for you, Scott, do you put your socks on before your pants, or do you put your pants on before your socks?
He barely puts his
Now
socks
it's
on.
different, but before I would put my socks on then my pants. Now it's whatever Sarah is available to put my socks on.
Oh, because your health things. But, okay, maybe you were a bad example. Brent?
That's a little
I
different.
put my socks on first.
Okay, so I have this terrible bad habit that I put my pants, I get entirely dressed and then I put my socks on last. And I even thought to myself this morning, why do I keep doing that? It just makes sense that you should put your socks on first. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is, guys, we get in these habits. We get in these habits of how we start our day and what we do. And not always are they the most smartest or the best things for us to be really, really good, because, you know, Dominic brought up a really good thing about your mind and setting your mind right. But if you're distracted on your mind, and one of the things I have written there is mindset, but, you know, so I'll write that. I mean, it kind of goes, it's its own pillar, right? But the key of, and we'll digress a little bit because he brought it up, but, you know, if your mind isn't right, it's going to be really hard for you to be productive for the day. You're going to be distracted. We all have personal things going on. And if we're wandering and thinking about this and thinking about money and thinking about all these other things, and we're not really clear on what our plan's going to be and really focused on the right things, then we can really go off track on achieving our goals for the day. So that was a really good one. Brent, what's a really good thing for a daily plan?
Well, every day I like to kind of review what happened yesterday.
Okay.
And if I had to leave any loose ends yesterday, I want to tie them up. And so nothing slips through the cracks.
So reflect and review what happened yesterday, and then kind of re-put it back into play for the day. Now I do really want to emphasize, guys, on your daily plan, like you guys get the day timers in the morning, and those are to review your leads with your manager. Now, are we doing that at a high level?
Yeah.
You guys, okay. Now, it was kind of meant for me when I put that process in place just to make sure that happened. But that's really only one key of a daily plan. I hope that's not the only one. So I guess what I would like to emphasize is on your daily plan is that you actually visualize and write down what are the things that you need to do. Now, a proper daily plan, like, you know, in business we have what's called KPI. They're key performer indicators that we need to do, and we track and make sure that we hit certain things. So in salespeople, having a daily plan, you need to kind of define what those indicators are for you. So can we just kind of write down, or we won't write them down, but, you know, I want you guys, you know, for the daily plan, it should be, you know, write down what the, you know, action plans for the day are, right? So, and kind of list them. So like, you know, Brent's reflecting on the previous day, but, you know, we got to at least look at them and say, okay, you know what, I have an appointment at 10, you know, I got to make some calls and do some of these other things. You know, maybe I got to get my car, you know, my delivery ready. Maybe I got to do some social media posts, all those type of things. But, you know, what do you guys think are some KPIs for you as a salesperson? Oliver? If you had to define 5 or 6 things that you need to do on a daily basis to be successful, what's one of them?
Marketplace is a huge one for
Okay.
me.
So social
that's
media?
a big one for me every day
Okay.
is to update
Okay.
daily. So taking
Yeah.
a look at the current inventory, seeing what I don't have
Yeah.
on the marketplace, and making sure that's up there.
Okay, that's a good one.
Super important.
Okay. CJ?
Staying up to date and in contact with all your people you've been in contact with.
Okay, follow up, right? Okay. Yourself?
I like to write down like a daily note on each lead, like of what is currently happening, so
Okay.
nothing slips through the cracks, don't forget it.
Okay, just really tight on your own leads. Okay, Horace?
Those are some really good ones, John. I was gonna say all three. Not sure. I like to actually sometimes just take a walk on the lot.
Okay,
See
that's a
what
good
I
one.
have.
Hey, that's a great one for a daily routine and a habit.
Yeah.
Start your day off with a lot walk. Really good one. Marcus?
Tracking, knowing where you're at in the month, where you stand,
Okay.
where you're projecting, that kind of stuff.
Okay, Dominic?
Understanding your business in general,
Yeah.
just on a daily basis.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so guys, on this one, setting a daily plan, I really want to emphasize starting the day off right, okay? So your morning routine should really be good, and you know, we're all built a little different. I get that. Like, you know, there's you have the two pillars, and people that are married usually a lot of times are the opposites, where you know, one's a morning person, one's a non-morning person, and you know, we always see things online and see things like that where, you know, one's, you know, at 6 o'clock ready to go in the morning the minute he wakes up, and the other person maybe take a little longer to get things moving in their brain and stuff. But you know, I really want you to emphasize on your habits. You know, like sometimes I've seen people, you know, where they're so focused on being at work on time that, you know, they obviously didn't get up early enough. They didn't have breakfast. They didn't have everything. They're rushing here. Their hair's not combed. And then the first thing they do is they order breakfast and they spend the first hour completely unproductive. That is not a good habit. Okay? I'm just saying, guys, like, think about it. Think about how you started what if you took that first hour? And the minute you got to work, you started putting, you know, had the self-discipline to start focusing on the productive things that make you money. Instead of taking that first hour to, like, you know what, I'm not a morning person, and you know, I gotta have breakfast, I gotta drink a coffee, and kind of just let things flow for an hour first before I really start activating myself. Well, how about you get up an hour earlier? How about that? And you do that at home. You have breakfast. On the way here, you focus on what you're gonna accomplish, and then when you know, think about athletes. How much before the game do they show up for work? Those of you that are sports minded. I mean, you always see Tom Brady. He's one of the heaviest guys on social media. You always see him in his brand new suit, looking like $1 million, showing up, you know, 3 or 4 hours before game time. It's because they know that the preparation before they step on the field is so important, that they have to get their head right, they have to put their plan together, they have to put their routines together. You're not gonna see him running and racing and going through red lights and then running into the thing to try and make a meeting today, and then, you know, it's like, oh, I haven't eaten yet. Who wants breakfast? And they go around the whole shop and order some breakfast, and then and it's like, wow, guess what, everybody? It's 10:30. Let's get to work. So I've been there, guys. Okay, you know, Brent asked me yesterday how many years. Well, I'm 52. I started when I was 18, so I've got a few years in the business, and I've been there. I've done those things. Okay. And I've been involved in those things, but it's not a good routine, it's not a good habit. So start your day off proper, and when you get to work, be ready to start focusing on the things that are gonna, you know, those KPIs that I hope you're writing down that you've mentioned today. And, you know, think about if you put that first hour into it. And then, you know what, even getting here early sometimes. If you have it, like, part of daily plan is task management. I wrote it down. It's like self-discipline and task management. You're behind on something, get to work a half hour early. Get that task management stuff, because the most successful salespeople focus on the things that make them the money the most, but there's still tasks that have to get done. You know, Tom Brady needs to watch film time of the players that he's doing before the game to be successful. He doesn't like show up on the field and then say, oh, I'm ready, I'm the best that there is. Okay? I'm better than anyone else. Look at my rings. He's done some preparation. He's done some task management for his team before the day started. He got to work an hour early sometimes. That's what successful people do. And they're rewarded later on because of it. It'll serve you back. It's not like, hey, can I put a sheet in for, I spent an extra half hour this week. Can we talk about my pay plan? Your pay plan will take care of itself if you put extra time in. That I can assure you with my years of experience. It does pay you back. So that's the little part of the rant there on the starting your day right. Hopefully I've challenged you guys a little bit if on your goal setting for next year that you really focus on starting your day off and really getting to that first hour and getting more productive at the start of the day. Okay, so the second one I wrote down is mindset. This is a really big one right now, guys. And what I can say is that the most successful salespeople in any industry and the most successful people in general focus on the things they can control. And they don't spend time focusing on things they can't control. So for you guys as salespersons right now, what are some things that you could focus on that are out of your control? Does any big one come to mind?
Inventory.
Inventory. Okay. We know we're short inventory. But imagine if we let that take up too much space in our head, what would happen? We'd start saying to ourselves, wow, I have no inventory. I'm gonna sell less cars. And then the more times you tell yourself that, guess what happens? What about if we know that already and then we focused on the things, well, what are some things I can control? I can control, follow-up. I can control social media. I can control my pipeline. I can control my referrals. I control trying to mine and get some more used cars. Those are the things that I can control. And you know what? I gotta trust John Codd and the manufacturers that they're doing their best to get me the inventory. Right? But if I spend too much time, headspace, focusing on that, it's not gonna be good. So I would challenge you guys all, even the managers, to stop it. Like, it's out of your control. It's in my control and it's in the manufacturer's control. And we're on it. Okay? Trust me. We're on it. This is my business. This is their business. And we're focused on it. So let's focus on the things that we can do to kind of get through it, right? So that would be a good one with mindset. I guess the other thing is, some of these tasks that we have asked you to do, sometimes they're time consuming and, whether it's, social media posts or the videos or whatever, that we think that they're important, that we think they're an important KPI for you, is really have the mindset, guys, that you go into it and there's a reason for it. There's a reason why we feel that those are the best practices. And sometimes, like Marcus said to me the other time, well, John, these car films aren't getting me, I've tracked them and they're not getting me as good as results. So, and I get that sometimes. Sometimes you might send 50 videos and you don't get replies, but we know that 50% of the time they're being viewed. And we know that of the people that view those car film videos and those video messages, that our closing ratio goes up. So it's like mining gold, right? You have to keep mining. You don't stop mining when you can't find the gold in that spot. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. So I'd really challenge you guys on the mindset is to have the self-discipline and to keep doing the things that we've emphasized on. And that's the task management and having the right mindset is really important to hit your goals that you guys are going to put down, right? So and we talk about daily plans, so if I dummy it down a little bit, it's like, okay, how many video messages do I have to do in a day? How many social media posts do I have to do in a day? How many customers do I need to talk to in a day? How many pipeline? The third one that I wrote down, and we'll put it right in there, is pipeline, is like the most successful salespeople in any industry focus the majority of their time on the pipeline. not on the sale of that day. They're always working on more opportunities, because they know that if you have more opportunities, you're gonna have more sales. They have to focus on that day to sell a car, but they're dedicating time every day on the pipeline. You guys know what I mean by pipeline, right? You gotta have things coming in all the time. So that's why, you know, we have these appointment, you know, processes where you gotta have an appointment the next day, but generally the top salespeople are thinking way more than that. You know what? When you sell that person a car today, you should be thinking about the pipeline of that customer. You should be thinking about his friends and family. You should be thinking about, okay, how many times do I have to call him and touch him and do all these things? And the best salespeople in any industry have a really good follow-up and pipeline process. So I'm hoping that on your goal setting for next year, you really evaluate on how you're doing on pipelining. Because if you're doing sort of the seat of the pants and hoping that, you know, a customer's gonna come in and you sell them a car, and because you're so skilled that you're gonna have a 40% closing ratio, and so if I have a 40% closing ratio to sell 15 cars, you know, I need to only talk to 45 people, and you're putting that all on me to try and provide those 45 people for you, you might not hit it. I think you need to really focus on how you're gonna do the pipeline. Even in finance, we've asked you guys to manufacture deals, because I think it's important for even the finance people to be working their pipeline. You know, going in and finding the people that have high interest rates and trying to offer them a better deal on some lower interest rate things we have. So, I mean, pipeline is a good one, and you mentioned it, CJ, about follow-up, but really deep dive. How good is the follow-up? Is the follow-up good just on people that have come in the store in the last 30 days? Or is or how good are we at an internet lead from 6 months ago? How good are we at an internet lead from 3 months ago? How good are we from a customer that bought a car a year ago? How good are we at all my friends and family? How good are we at my circle of influence? That's working the pipeline. And the most successful salespeople have a pipeline process. They get it. They're always looking at it. Back in the day, we didn't have what you guys have. And I'm dating myself again. We had Rolodexes. There's memes about them. I was one of those guys when I was 20 years old, having a Rolodex with a little binder and having notes on a piece of paper. Now we have so much technology. It is so much easier to have a pipeline process. So, I mean, Perry and Lee are here with the marketing team and the technology team. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to say, hey, Perry, can I have a one-on-one with you? Can you help me set up a strategized, technology-based follow-up system? And he will help you, but, you know, I could task him and say, hey, make sure everyone has one done. But if you guys don't want to do it, there's no point in me dedicating some time from him to every person if they're not going to do it. That's the worst thing about a process, is an owner saying or a GM saying, hey, this is our process. You got to do it because it's going to make us money, and there's no buy-in from that manager. There's no buy-in from that salesman. I don't want to force feed Marcus to do things. I want him to trust me and say, you know what, John? I don't think it's getting me enough results, but if you think it's the right thing to do, I'm gonna give it 110% over the next 6 months. That's what I expect from people. Because I do have the most years in there, and I think that some of these things we've asked you to do are gonna make you guys a lot of money. If you do them at a high level. If you do them at a half level, then yeah, you're not gonna get the results. So, does that make sense? Okay, so really write down the KPIs that we've mentioned here, guys. So the pipeline is a big one. Let's just define it real quick. Referrals and repeats. I mean, it's cold calling is tough. Cold calling can be tough. We all know that. Okay, you're calling at someone cold, right? I get it. It's part of the business. But imagine if you had a really good pipeline process on referrals and repeats. We know as a fact that 70% of people, 70% higher closing ratio on referrals and repeats based on having a better introduction at the start. Because you know the person, or they were referred to you, or they were a repeat customer. We know that our closing ratio goes up 70% of the time if they're a repeat or referral. We know that, it's data. That's a great thing about technology, you have data now. So if I'm gonna be a top performing, successful person, I gotta have the habits of referrals and repeats. It's not just a thing we're gonna talk about, it's like, okay, how is my plan? How can I get more referrals? How can I get more repeat? How can I really focus on the pipeline here, on those? Because I know that cold calling doesn't give me as good a results. I don't wanna have to resort to having all my pipeline based on cold calling. A small percentage of it can be, but I think we need to focus more on how can we get better at referrals and how can we get better at repeats. And I'm gonna challenge Scott and Marcus, these are the things that we gotta talk about in the meetings. These are the things that are gonna make us successful. So these are the things that we should be training about. These are the things that we gotta navigate better. Cold calling, yeah, on the boiler rooms, those are gonna yield us some deals. But if we were masters at this part, closing ratio goes up 70% because we know that the introduction's way easier. They're coming in, and Brent, you've been here the longest, you know how much easier it is to sell someone the second time, right? You know, and those referrals, right? So it's so much easier, guys, when we do that. Okay, I wrote a couple more here. So what do you guys think of these ones so far? Daily plan, obviously the mindset's a big one. If you find that you're not in the right headspace, that should be part of your one-on-one with the manager. Sometimes I really talk to the managers and I say, hey guys, when you're doing your one-on-ones with the guys, it's not just going over the leads, man. The first part of a daily game plan is making sure you and them are in the right headspace. So if you're having an off day, tell your manager, say, hey man, like this just happened and you wanna reset it, man. So there's no use trying to force a whole bunch of stuff if your head's not in it. We've all been there. But I think that's real proper on the starting the day proper is on those game plans with the managers, is you guys really making sure that you're in the right headspace, and if something's bugging you, just get it out. The pipeline, that's an easy one, guys. I know we're good at making calls. I'm just not sure we're at the high enough level on the referrals and repeats. I'm not sure we've really mastered that yet, okay? And then, what else do I have here? The referrals, yeah, I talked about that. So 70% better closing ratio on getting someone to refer you. The last one we talked about is that I want to talk about is the social media. And I just want to ask you guys, I mean the car business has changed. The car business has changed. I mean, it went from not having cars listed to, you know, someone came on your lot, you had the car, you sold them, okay? Now it's based on customers doing all this research, finding out what kind of car they want. And generally, a lot of times, they're smarter than we are about those cars. They've done, because I mean, if I want something, I'm gonna do a ton of research. So, you know, so sometimes we're up against a little bit of that. So, I mean, you wanna make sure that we're good at the technology, right? So one of the things we've asked you is, and I hope you guys are doing it on the daily plan, is to do the social media posts. That should be part of your prospecting. Now we have a pretty young team here, other than Dominic and me, right? But guys, you gotta, like, my skill set has changed so much since I was in your guys' shoes. Like what I had to focus on back then is way different than now. So a lot of it's key, the prospecting, the referrals and repeats is the same, but now it's technology based. So, if you need help with the technology, you gotta sit down with Perry. You gotta learn how to get more innovative on social media posts. There's a guy, this Al Patron guy, and there's a few guys that are on social media, and I watch them, and it's not like they're really impressing me with their content, but they got their name out so much. And they were so consistent with it that they people started calling him, and now he has his own business, and now people are kind of buying cars off him, luxury cars and stuff. So he kind of made himself, he marketed himself to be a car guy, and he kind of took over a little bit of space there because he was so consistent that you kind of just, what's this guy gonna say today? Like, it became one of those. So I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying like consistency is key with technology. Consistency is key with social media. So those video messages are very important to do consistent every day. And so are the social media posts on Instagram, your own Facebooks, Instagram, LinkedIn. So keep navigating that. And you know what? It's like anything. It's like, you know, you do things long enough, then eventually it's gonna pay dividends. But if you do it and then you stop, then you start up again, then you're that. So, you know, these things take time. You know, you post 3 or 4 times a week, post 3 or 4 times a week, post 3 or 4 times a week, and you do that for 3 or 4 months straight. Then on the 4th or 5th month, like I get it all the time, people say, hey, I've been seeing a lot of your stuff. They didn't like me, they didn't like it, and they didn't, a lot of times I'll talk to manufacturers in the meeting and they'll say, hey John, how's it going? We just had a meeting yesterday, Perry set it up. The guy said, hey, I've been seeing all your barbecues. When can I come for a barbecue? And I said, oh, I guess I'm known as the best, you know, hamburger barbecuer in the industry, because I'm always showing posts of myself barbecuing. We got to change the content there, Leah. Okay. But my point is that a lot of these people were seeing different things on our dealership. So, I mean, they've seen the Caught Auto Group, they've seen some of the things we do, they've seen our culture, and I get that all the time, where they see our TV commercials, now they see our social media posts, they see all these things, and it brought awareness to the company. But you guys can all do that individually as well. And you know what? You're gonna start getting leads. You will. So I really challenge you to really, really adopt the technology aspect of your business right now. You know, the business has changed the way it was 20 years ago. It changed 10 years ago. It's had a correction the last 4 or 5 years, and COVID has brought on a lot of that. COVID has brought on people working from home, working more on technology, more FaceTime meetings. All this stuff has changed. So we have to adapt, and we have to become masters at that. Because I don't think it's going away. It's not like, hey, COVID's gonna stop next week and then all of a sudden we're gonna go back to doing business the way we did 3 years ago. It's gonna keep going in this direction whether there's COVID or not. So we gotta adopt the technology. We gotta get good at it. So I'm really gonna, because the last one I had here after the social media was just your skill set. You know, the top performing salespeople continue to master and improve their skill sets. And there's ways to do it. One is obviously tracking and measuring their performance on the closing ratio and their outgoing calls and their in and out leads and all that, and then seeing what the best practices are doing. And then the other one is product knowledge, right? You know, do we know our product? Because we have great product with Hyundai, right? Especially with the electric vehicles and whatnot. And I think they're the top in the industry when you compare some of the product that's out there. So, you know, when a customer comes in, can we wow them on our product? Do you guys know your product well enough? You know, and the skill set, the training is just if you're not good at some of these things that we ask you to do on the marketing, then ask Leah. You're lucky you have Leah right here. So, you know, ask her to say, hey, help me put out a good video, give me some ideas. You know, so and do that. So yeah, I mean, that's all I had. So guys, I don't wanna talk up here too long. I wanna get you guys back in your game and get focused. So I would ask you, so today is the end of things, so, you know, can I say by the middle to end of November, can you guys all email me on that your next year's goal setting's done, and then I will set up a time to come for a couple days, and we'll just have a 15-minute huddle with everybody, okay? Like individually, and then you guys can share with me, and then, you know, if there's something you guys need from us as ownership group and management, you know, please be open about it. If there's stuff that you think that we need to do better as well, right? So let's just go around the room and see what everyone kind of got out of everything. Scott, is there anything that stands out with you a little bit?
Yeah, the big thing for me, honestly, and I mean, you could probably see the reaction in the room when you brought up the fact of being at work, on time, hair done, ready to go, not walking in ordering breakfast. That was huge. I really do. I mean, it was,
Okay.
you could hit the nail on the head, eh, boys? That one?
Yeah, I mean, it's just setting the day up, right? Just taking that first hour of the day and putting it to more productivity and doing that before you get to work. I've been there, guys. I've done it. I did it for years. I had those type of habits, but you change your habit a little bit. Like, I mean, Chelsea, I know you have a big routine on your health, right? And working out and stuff, but I mean, you look at people that are doing that, they follow a rigid routine. You take a little bit and change your habits a little bit on that first hour, it makes a huge difference on, you know, your energy level. Like, you guys all know I just went to a retreat, health retreat, right? I was there for 3 weeks. And part of it is just, I could have done what they taught me about myself. It's not like earth shattering, but I was on a schedule. I was on a schedule every single minute of the day. And it was mind blowing to me, like, hey, yeah, you know what, this makes sense, I got it, you know, right? So, Chelsea, anything that stood out?
Yeah, I would say like the morning routine.
Yeah.
That's something that I've definitely adopted in the last probably 3 months.
Yeah.
Is I get up really, really early. I
Yeah.
stretch in the morning. I have a coffee. I do my morning cardio,
Yeah.
and I really feel like that has helped me a lot with
Yeah.
like mindset and just being ready for the day and
Awesome.
not looking at my phone when I wake up for at least the first hour.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Brent?
It's consistency for me, like having, kind of identifying what the 4 or 5 main things that I can't miss every day and making time for them.
Okay.
It's not amount of hours, it's about using those hours.
What's one thing that you think you can improve on the things we discussed today?
This 100% is straight on the pipeline referrals repeat.
Okay.
I've got enough business there that could feed me for many years, so
Okay.
that's 100% what I wanna get on.
Nice. Good. Oliver? What's the
Um,
takeaway?
Yeah, a little bit of same as Ben really, but just consistency to do the same things every day, even if it's not yielding success that day, but just building for the future really, not getting despondent if something doesn't happen in the next couple of days, but just keep going and knowing that
Yeah.
it will bear fruit later.
I mean, the one thing that's great, guys, is you guys have all been with us for a while, right? So it's not like a new salesman coming in, like, you know, Brent, you're what, 240 cars already this year, and you guys are all having a lot of successes, so it's just leveling up even a little bit is gonna make a huge difference, right? CJ?
I think holding myself accountable. I mean, it's easy to follow the game plan and write down names, but just sticking to the plan and not getting off track.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well said. Good. Wars?
Man, just kind of coming in every day and kind of clearing your mind. I mean, I've been trying to do that even prior to this meeting. I mean, all the boys know that I was the one that was coming in every morning. Boys, what's for breakfast? As you can probably tell in the last couple weeks, whatnot, haven't been doing that. Been making breakfast and trying to wake up early and come to work. So
Nice.
I'm in that process in my
Is that
life
your
too.
sandwich behind us?
It is. I was eating. Hey, I'm still trying to wake up a little earlier, but at least you know.
It's all good, buddy. You're at?
We're sitting here.
I think kind of like putting the blinders on, just focusing on what I can do right now, not what's coming down the road, not what's not gonna be here down the road. This is what I have now.
Yeah,
Let's
so
work
you're
with what I
talking
got.
about mindset and focusing
Yeah.
on the things you can control. That's a super big one, Brad. And it's, you know what, I know that sometimes it can be deflating when we don't have inventory. I'm not oblivious to that. I mean, it's deflating for me too, right? But we still got lots of things that we can do to have a great 3 or 4 months, right? So I'm pretty optimistic. I will say that I did speak to Don Romano yesterday and last week, and he's very confident. Like, Hyundai's going into a 10% increase on their budget. Because I phoned him and said, hey, should I be forecasting for like 15-20% less? He's like, no way. So I mean, his feedback to me was, well, you know, on a national level, they're focused on 10% increase. Now the first couple months, they're going to be flat, but you know, April on, they're expecting huge increases. So okay? So, I mean, you can be optimistic as well. They've guaranteed us that we're gonna have some inventory, so it's gonna be good. Marcus, some takeaways?
For me personally, I would think it kind of boils down to just having a better morning routine. I'm well aware that I am not a morning person, never have been, so I think that's something that I could probably do better on. But other than that, just staying focused on what I can control.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of get wrapped up in a negative mindset, especially working with
Me.
so many other people that could have things going on outside of work in their lives, and they bring it into work or vice versa. So it's really easy to bring that energy into your own
Okay.
life. So it's staying focused on the
Yeah, well, you have even a bigger responsibility being a leader and a mentor in the company, right? So, I mean, that first hour they're all gonna follow you, right? So, I mean, if you're focused on getting to work in the first hour and being productive, then, that's what happens. So, I'm gonna really challenge you on that because, you are the leader. So, that first morning routine and getting that mindset right for the team is really important, right? I think it could really help us pay a lot of dividends. Dominic?
Social media, I find the social media presence
Yeah.
makes a big difference, and everybody's on social media. There's tons of business.
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace,
Yeah.
Instagram, everywhere. There's always business on social media.
So was that a takeaway? You're gonna try and
Yes.
be better at it?
Yes.
Or do more? I know you've started recently.
Yes.
And you've yielded some good results, so.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have, guys. So anyway, I enjoyed the morning and speaking to you guys, and like I say, over the next 30 to 45 days, we'll sit back and we'll do some one-on-ones together. And I wanna hear from you guys, and I do wanna say that you guys have had a great year, so, I mean, we got the food truck coming today to celebrate, but, we got a really good team here, and obviously we're looking forward to a great 2022, so. All right, okay, thank you.